Now in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your lessons and the various settings for lessons and how to get beautiful lesson pages. So let's go ahead and jump into the dashboard of our website. Now your default lesson page, I have always felt, leaves much to be desired. I've never really been a huge fan of it, and this is essentially how it looks in their demo. So we've got our site here, and you've got just your title, and here's a link back to the course, and you can paste in your video, and that's kind of how that looks, and your content. And then you've got this go to the previous or the next lesson. And this is why I don't like long lesson titles. You see how it just doesn't look symmetrical, and the same thing here, but that's a side note. So this is how it looks by default. Now, because you're using the custom child theme that I had custom coded just for you, and of course, you know I don't charge you anything for it, I'm freely giving it away, it's going to allow you to get this lesson layout. So here's another one of the lessons on the same page, on the same website. So we have our header area, and that stays the same. And then we have this background area where you can choose the color. I have this darker color, but you can choose any color you want. And then you can embed any type of video or audio or any kind of embeddable content. I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. And I just grabbed some random YouTube video, and you can see it's just in there perfectly, taking up the full width. And I really like this student experience, just the way that it looks here. And you're not going to get this by default, but you will get it when using my custom child theme. And then underneath your content area is where you have your title and your widget sidebar area here with the course progress and all that, and whatever content you had in your lesson specifically. So I'm going to show you how to do this, but I'm also going to show you all the different settings for lessons in this video. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and click on courses, and then in the prior video, I explained to you here how to create sections and lessons. Now, when you've created a lesson, you would just go ahead and click on edit content, and it's going to take you specifically, jump you right on into that lesson so you can start adding content to it. And then you have this little notice here that the lesson has content if it has content in it, obviously. And you can also go straight here to lessons and jump to the specific lesson. But the way that I typically do it is I jump into my course. I don't want to have to look here and see every single lesson for every single course. So that's why I go into the specific course, and that's how I'll go ahead and jump on into a lesson. So let's go ahead and take a look at some settings. I'll look at these settings specifically for this lesson right here. All I have to do is click on edit content, and now it's going to take me right on into it. So here's your standard content that you're going to put in. So you see it's here, and you can see when you scroll down, it's right there as well. So that's going to be your content area. So any written content that's going to go along with your lesson, you're going to go and put it in right here. And it's your standard WordPress editor where you can change formatting and stuff like that. You'll want to make sure this little box is clicked here that says toolbar toggle, and it reveals more options. So you're going to want to do this. And just like in the courses, underneath it, we had that Yoast box, and we're going to go over this later, but I don't really want this at the top, so I'm going to collapse it, and I'm going to just kind of drag it underneath some of these things. So there we go. I have it down here now, and that's kind of where I want it. So let's take a look at some of these options here. First, I want to touch on the Lifter specific options. This right here where it says page header is not a LifterLMS thing. This is what we're going to utilize in order to get our lesson to look beautiful like this. And so we're going to talk about that in a moment. And I'm going to show you how to set it up. It's actually very simple. So here we are in the lesson settings, and it's going to look very similar, of course, to the course settings. So right here, you can put a link to a video. Now, I don't use that to get this layout, but you can use to get this layout right here where the video doesn't even take up the full width. I don't actually like the way that looks at all. But you could actually use this if you wanted to. If you didn't want your lesson layout to look like this. It's totally up to you. You could just pop in a video URL or an audio URL right there, and that will be at the top here underneath your title and the link back to the course. So you can do that there if you wanted, but I don't use these options myself. And so right here you can choose if this is a free lesson or not. And this is actually good. This is how you're going to mark a lesson free. So if you have a paid course and you want to maybe give the first lesson away for free, this is going to be the option for you. If you want to make a free course, this is not the option for you. You would specify or configure a pricing plan for your course for it to be free. You wouldn't necessarily use this feature. This is for making a lesson free inside of a paid course. And this is actually a good strategy. If you're going to have a long course, maybe when you're planning out your course, you'll think of maybe having that first module be a free module, or that first section be free, and maybe a couple lessons in there so they can see the quality of your lessons, and then they'll want to perhaps be more motivated to purchase the course. But this is just to make a particular lesson free. So then we've got this same thing here. We've got prerequisites. We can enable or disable. So here's what the options are. And by default, when it's enabled, it's going to point back to the prior lesson. So what this is going to do is going to say that your student cannot take this lesson unless they've marked this prior lesson complete. And so this would be your prerequisite lesson in order to take this one. I personally don't use this option, but if you want to make sure someone marks a lesson complete before they can move forward, this would be the option for you to enable. So I'm going to leave that disabled like that. And then we have drip settings, and essentially what dripping your course content out is, say you have a course that has 4 different sections in it, and you might want to not, I personally think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but you might want to give them only a section at a time so they can have the first section, and then you let them have access to that for say a week or 2 weeks, and then after that week or 2 weeks, then you allow them to have access to the second section, and so on and so forth. And so you're dripping the content out to the student. And I've heard some of the rationale with that. The real reason why people drip content out is they want to give you most of the course after the refund period is expired. So if you're selling a course, and actually anything you sell on the internet, even if you say there's no returns or no refunds, if someone puts it on a credit card, they can get a refund. All they have to do is call their credit card company and say, I'm doing a chargeback. So the reason why a lot of people drip or use these drip settings is so that they give you some of the content in that 30-day period, kind of that refund window, and then outside of that 30 days, then they start giving you the whole meat and potatoes of the course. But there's also other reasons why people drip courses out, because they might not have created the course yet. They want to create it and deliver it kind of all together. So that's another reason. But, there might be some truth to the whole not wanting your students to feel overwhelmed. So there's a justification to drip it out. Me personally, I just give you access to everything on day one. But these are those drip settings right here. So here's your method. So there's these different options here. So it can be available on a specific date or a number of days after they enroll in your course, or a number of days after the course start date. So if you're using the specific dates on the course settings, like the specific date the course starts and all of this kind of stuff, then you're going to want to choose those options. But most of us, we're going to have probably like more of an evergreen course. People can buy it whenever and start taking it whenever. And so you're going to probably want to choose this. This would be the most common choice. Available number of days after they enroll in a course. So you have to configure this on a lesson by lesson basis. So right now, when it's set to 0, that means it's available immediately. But if I wanted this available a week after someone enrolls in the course, I can just pop a 7 in there, and that will be how many days after they enroll that they'll get access to this lesson. It's all pretty standard stuff here. So I'm going to choose none, but just so you know, you have that option there, and it's very popular, and a lot of people want this, and I'm sure there's lots of amazing applications for it that I'm just not thinking of at this moment. And as a matter of fact, since you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below on some great examples you think of when someone should use this drip method. And I'm sure there's many things that I'm not thinking of. And then you have this quiz tab right here. Now it's saying that quizzes can't be assigned to free lessons. Let me go back to general and make this lesson not free, and then go to the quiz. And now we've got quiz options. So you can create a quiz. Well, first you'd create the questions, then you'd put the questions in a quiz, and then you would assign the quiz to a particular lesson. So if you wanted the quiz at the end of a section, you would just essentially assign the quiz to the last lesson in a section, and that's how you do it. So here you can assign your quiz, and then this is interesting. You can require that they have a certain grade in order to move forward. And so if I turn this on right here, they will have to have a passing grade that you can specify in the quiz itself when you turn that on or leave it off. Now, I personally don't use quizzes, but there's a lot of great applications for quizzes. There's a lot of people making learning management systems for certain credits towards maybe their specific profession. So there's a lot of reasons why quizzes are good, and especially if you want to issue out a certificate, you definitely want someone to go through the course, answer the quiz, and kind of help someone to better absorb the content. I'll tell you, I don't use quizzes personally because that's just not the model that I'm using, but I think the quizzes are very powerful, and I'm glad that right now I'm able to show you how to use it. So this is pretty much only the 4 settings that you get on a lesson by lesson basis. Now, when we scroll here on the right, what I like, you can see the course and exactly where in that course this lesson is assigned. So right here, you can see this is a lesson in the introduction module of this course right here, and you can get a bird's eye view of the course and how you currently have it structured right there. And also on lessons, I was talking prior about this thing called a featured image, and the same applies to lessons. You can assign a featured image to a lesson if you wanted to. Also, right here, there's an option if you wanted to allow people to make comments in lessons. You can definitely do that. I personally don't do that, but it's actually not a bad idea to allow people to discuss lessons inside your courses. And the nice thing is you can have your students interacting with each other on that. And like I said, the Yoast stuff, I'm going to go over that at a later point. So this is the different options you have in a lesson. Now let me show you exactly the settings I put in to get your lesson to look like this, which I think is a much better learner experience. So over this one. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that lesson right now, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I put all that information in this lesson right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Content to show you. So first of all, if you look under the lesson settings, I don't have that video enabled URL bit right there. Okay, and so this is what you need to do. You need to embed your content in here, and you're typically going to get it looking like this. Now, this brings me to a more common question, and I'm going to have to make a specific video on this later on, but this brings me to this whole concept of where are you going to store your course content? Now, you're going to have 3 different content types for your lessons. You're going to have a just plain old written content, and that's fine. You're going to maybe have audio content, and that's fine. You have video content, and that's fine as well. So if you're going to just have the written content, you would just go ahead and you would essentially put it in this box area right here. Done. If you're going to have audio or video content, though, you typically want to host it on a platform other than your website. It's just a good best practice. Now, you can, of course, upload audio and upload video to WordPress and store it there on your website. But the biggest problem with that is you want to have your video and your audio specifically encoded to be delivered on the web. And unfortunately, that's kind of a technical thing. Now, I do have a video. I actually have several lessons on taking your audio or your video content and getting it encoded specifically for delivery on the web. And I have that in my Course Creator Masterclass that you can enroll in, or you can purchase, or you would have gotten free access if you signed up for the hosting offer. But it's a good best practice to actually not have that content on your website. So your website is really just managing and delivering the entire platform, but the specific audio and the video is being delivered by a different platform. So here's a perfect example. You can create a video in any format, right? So you can use some Windows Movie Maker, or you can create it with a screen recording app like Camtasia or ScreenFlow or Screencast-O-Matic or any of those type of things, or your DSLR or your iPhone. And usually those devices or those programs are going to create this big, huge file. And if you just upload that file to your WordPress website, it's going to be 10 times larger than it needs to be. It's not going to stream optimize. There's going to be lots of buffering for your students. It's not going to be ideal. So here's what is typical. So for instance, and this isn't the perfect example, I upload a lot of videos to YouTube. So I can take any format video, upload it to YouTube. Once YouTube has it, it optimizes and encodes that video perfectly for delivery on any device as fast as possible with no buffering and no delay. It all just happens for me. Now, the same happens with Vimeo and some of the other different platforms where you can upload video and then deliver that video. So, for example, with YouTube, when you upload a video to YouTube, it does all these things for you, and then it's going to give you something called an embed code, and you could just come and drop that embed code in here. Same thing works for audio. If you put audio like on SoundCloud or some kind of audio host, you would upload it, it would optimize it for you, and then it will give you this thing called an embed code. Now, I personally use a video platform where it gives me this embed code, and that's what I use for all of the video delivery in my courses. I'm actually putting together a package on that. I'm not ready to give you the information on that right now, but it's going to be a platform where you can put your video in it, and it's going to have all these really cool features for membership course delivery websites, like resuming the video where someone left off, having clickable timestamps where someone can click on a link in the lesson content and jump to that point in the video. Unfortunately, I'm not ready to give you more information on that. I will add a video to this playlist when I'm ready to talk about that and how that's all going to work. But essentially, right now, you just need to choose where you're going to host your content, or you could put it on your website, but you need to make sure that you've optimized it for the web if you're going to put it on your website. So in order to get a video to look perfect like this and take up, or your audio content, or whatever content, to get it to look perfectly like this with the background, let me show you what you need to do. So there is a website that I use, and it's called Embed Responsively. Not responsibly. So it sounds like it's responsively. Responsive means it's going to automatically adjust its size. So what I did is I just took a random video link on YouTube. I put it in here. I chose YouTube. If it was on video or any of these other places or a generic iframe, you could do whatever option you want. I chose YouTube. I pasted it in. I clicked on embed, and what it did is it generates this little bit of code, and I took that code and I pasted that code in here. And what this does is it makes it so no matter what width the screen size is, the video or whatever that content is going to perfectly fit in this container. from edge to edge. It's going to perfectly fit in it. So a lot of times if I was to just take the YouTube embed, I would need to know some complicated things of the exact dimensions of this area here and all that kind of overly complicated stuff. But if you first go to embed responsively and you paste a link into your video content or your audio content, it's going to generate this. Now, if I wanted to do a second video and say it was on YouTube, essentially I'm just changing this little bit here. This is the video ID, but it's all this little bit of code that it gives you, this CSS that it gives you in order to make sure that whatever content you're putting in there, it takes up the full amount of space. Now, this code here, it's not linked to this website. It's just generating it and giving it to you. It is not linked to this website at all. Actually, on my website, I should create something similar for people to make it easy and send them to my website. But for now, you can go to embed responsively. And so if you had videos on Vimeo, and a lot of people actually use Vimeo because Vimeo, you'd want to use a paid plan on Vimeo, but they'll allow you to have your videos privately and change the color of the player and lock them to your website. And so you would take those video links in here, pop them in, click on embed, and it would do the same thing. It would give you a link there that you would paste in on your lesson page or any of these places. Now, the challenge with delivering any kind of video or audio content is this. You really want it to be secure. So that's why people don't use YouTube, or it's not a good idea to use YouTube to host your paid content. So obviously anyone can go right here and say, this is on YouTube. Why don't I watch it on YouTube? Or why don't I download it on YouTube? Or why don't I share the link to the YouTube video? So that's why you don't have people using YouTube, because it's not really secure. But if you use something like Vimeo Pro, I think it's like $6 a month or something like that, or it's like $50 a year, $60 a year. You can upload unlimited videos, deliver them unlimited. It's all unlimited stuff, or there's a limit that you'll never hit. And you can make it so people can't watch the videos on Vimeo and they can't share a video link or anything like that. So I do have a video I created a few months back on the ways to deliver video in your online course. You can see the LifterLMS folks, they're using Wistia, and that's another option at Wistia, but it's just overly expensive in my opinion. So until I'm ready to announce this video platform that I am putting together, you might want to throw your videos up on Vimeo if you want, and then you'll get a link to it. You can come to this embed responsively, paste your link in. It'll give you the perfect code to pop into this area right here. So here are the other little settings that you might want to be aware of. So you're going to want to have this add padding option enabled. You're going to want the container to say full width. You don't want it to say contained. By default, it will say contained, but you need to switch it to full width. And right here is where you choose that background color. So if you click here, you can paste in your color code. You can choose a color here, whatever you wanted, so you can tie it into your branding. If you wanted text, say above the video, you can enter that text and choose your text color right here. And you can also choose right here if you want that text aligned or centered or whatever you want. And that's essentially all you need to do in order to get these beautiful lesson layouts here. And this is definitely my preferred way to have my lessons delivered. I think it's a nicer learner experience. Someone can just pop the window up in the corner of their web browser, put it on the top of their monitor there, and just start consuming your content. So this is pretty much everything having to do with lessons and how I'm getting you that beautiful page header. Now, this is actually a module, a paid module in the GeneratePress theme, but I worked together with the developer of GeneratePress to include this for free for you, my subscribers that are going through this process. Now, if you purchased the GeneratePress Premium, it comes with this page header feature for every post or page on your website. It's a very powerful option to have, but he was kind enough when I approached him to let us use it in this child theme so that you guys can have a beautiful learner experience for the students on your website. But this is specific to this child theme. If you're going to use a different other theme, you're not going to get this lesson layout, unfortunately. But the default lesson layout is okay. I would just prefer if this was going full width and taking advantage of the full space of this container. I just think it looks a little disjointed there. So it's up to you how you want it, but I definitely prefer this there. So if you have any specific questions on embed responsively or video hosting, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I know you're going to have questions on it, and I want to best answer those and help you out, things I might not have thought about. Go ahead and ask those questions down below. Now, in the pinned comment section, this will be the first comment down below on YouTube, the very first comment. I'll have information there, so I'm going to put together a video to share this new video player that I'm working on, and I'll have a link to that video once I release it there, so you can just check that out if you want. Also, if you're watching these lessons on my website, I will have information there as well on this new thing that I'm going to be offering to host your videos for lessons and have some really cool professional features there for your students.